Turkey not a witness of history, but its greatest author. From empires that ruled the world to temples that defined faith, it all began here. This story, which began 12,000 years ago, has never been interrupted. For thousands of years, the cliffs have carried tombs that defy death. A journey begins into the country's oldest, grandest, and best-preserved ancient and historical sites. In one breath, 12,000 years of history. Pinara Cliff Necropolis. Pinara Cliff Necropolis. These rock-cut tombs are carved into a steep cliff on the eastern slope of Mount Barbadag. The terraces stretch for about 700 meters, filled with silent graves that seem to rise toward the sky. Each tomb tells that death was not the end but a life reborn within stone. Visitors often describe this cliff as a giant honeycomb, covered with hundreds of hollow openings. To some, the view resembles a massive stone apartment from the ancient world. The lower tombs stand as masterpieces of Lycian stone craftsmanship, graceful yet enduring. Those who wonder what a civilization that believed in immortality felt, should see this place. Mount Nemrut. Mount Nemrut. This ancient mountain in Aegean forms one of the highest peaks of the Anti-Taurus range. In the late 1st century BC, King Antiochus I built this monumental funerary temple dedicated to the gods in his own honor. He constructed this sacred complex to be regarded as equal to the gods and to immortalize his name. The magnificent site consists of two separate sacred terraces known as the East and West Terraces. The East Terrace is where the colossal statues of the gods are best preserved and greet the first light of the sun. On this terrace, the statues are arranged from left to right: lion, eagle, King Antiochus, Commagene, Zeus, Apollo, Heracles, followed again by an eagle and a lion. On the West Terrace, there are also colossal statues of gods, the king's statue, and protective figures such as the eagle and the lion. However, the sculptures and reliefs on this side are generally more damaged. Some pieces are cracked and broken. The three reliefs on the West Terrace are known as the Dexiosis reliefs, depicting King Antiochus shaking hands with the gods. Mount Nemrut is a fascinating place where history and mystery intertwine. Sagalassos Ancient City. Sagalassos Ancient City. Built on the slopes of the western Taurus Mountains, this ancient city stands about 1.5 kilometers above sea level. Now, let's look at some of the city's most fascinating structures. The most striking structure of Sagalassos is undoubtedly the Antonine Nymphaeum. The arched gateways rising in front of it are known in literature as the monumental gate or propylon of the Antonine Nymphaeum. Although it had no specific name in antiquity, these gates served as a ceremonial entrance leading to the fountain and the upper agora. Constructed in the last quarter of the 2nd century AD, the monument reflects Roman elegance with Aphian marble and multicolored stone decorations. Statues representing Marcus Aurelius and Faustina combine with surrounding figures of Dionysus, Nemesis, and the nymphs. Thus, the structure unites the power of Rome and the sacred balance of nature in a single scene. The Hadrian Nymphaeum, located in the lower section of Sagalassos, is another monumental fountain. It was built in the first half of the 2nd century AD in honor of Emperor Hadrian. Dating from the 1st to 2nd centuries AD, the Neon Library is one of the most important structures reflecting the intellectual identity of Sagalassos. Its mosaics made of colorful stones elevate the library beyond a mere space of knowledge. The Haroun of Sagalassos is among the city's most impressive and symbolic monuments. Its facades display dancing female figures, wreaths of victory, and divine emblems. These figures represent the cycle of life, immortality, and Roman grace. The theatre, masterfully built into the mountain slope, was a grand Roman construction with a capacity of 9,000 spectators. Though time has passed, the theatre still preserves its Roman magnificence. The Roman baths of the city remain a marvel of engineering despite the centuries. With their stone walls, heating system, and spacious halls, they reveal both the luxury and technical mastery of Roman life. For those wishing to experience nature and history together, Sagalassos is the perfect destination. Adam Kyler, Mersin. Adam Kyler, Mersin. These ancient figures clinging to the cliff have endured within the stone for thousands of years. The construction of the reliefs began in the 3rd century BC and continued for several centuries. With its 19 figures, this place resembles an open-air gallery carved into the rock. Alongside male, female, and child figures, a mountain goat and an eagle also appear in the scene. The reclining relief figure, along with the two vertical figures carved beside it, creates the strongest character of the scene. The arrangement of the figures and the carving technique make this site a rare example on a global scale. To reach the area, the last 2 kilometers must be covered on foot, descending a challenging path. Göbekli Tepe. Göbekli Tepe. This structure, built by hunter-gatherers, is one of the oldest known temples in world history. Constructed about 11,600 years ago, the site is far older than the pyramids. Among the circles named from A to H, A, B, C and D stand out in particular. Researchers suggest that each circle represented the totem animal of a specific group. Enclosure A is regarded as the most mysterious part of the structure, with snake reliefs covering its surfaces. In enclosure B, the foxes appear as if they are still moving across the stone. Enclosure C lies east of A and B, and its diameter exceeds 30 meters. Because of its wild boar reliefs, it is also referred to as the Keeler House. In one scene, a predator with its head lowered attacks the wild boar beneath it. The carved surface has preserved the clash between hunter and prey for thousands of years. Another relief in enclosure C shows a wild boar and birds together. This scene may represent not the hunt, but the soul's ascent to the sky. Enclosure D, identified in excavations as the best preserved circle, has extraordinary dimensions. One of the oldest stone figures in the area is the vulture, snake, and spider depicted in this section. For those seeking the earliest traces of humanity, these stones are a sight worth seeing. Ishak Pasha Palace. Ishak Pasha Palace. The structure was built in Doğu Beyazıt, on a steep rock at an altitude of 2,000 meters. The construction process, initiated by Kolak Abdi Pasha in the late 17th century, lasted nearly a century. The palace, established on a platform of about 8,000 square meters, is an ideal point for observing the region. Because of its location near the border, different types of stone were used to increase durability. The complex features an impressive design that blends Ottoman, Persian, and Seljuk architecture. Its interior sections, in particular, reflect the peak of Ottoman architecture in terms of both grandeur and functionality. The stonework details, symbols, and decorations in the rooms have been carefully preserved. These remains, believed to belong to the Urartians, are located only 100 meters from the palace. The origins of this ancient defensive structure leaning against the rock go back 2,800 years. At the foot of the steep cliff stands an Ottoman mosque that has survived for centuries. Built in the 16th century during the reign of Selim I, it is known as the Old Beyazıt Mosque. This vast palace is a rare structure that stands out with its stone craftsmanship, especially for architecture enthusiasts. Ephesus. Ephesus. The ancient city near the district of Selçuk in Izmir was founded by Ionian settlers in the 10th century BC. In the urban layout of Ephesus, Kuret Street forms the main axis, with temples and the library aligned along this route. One of the important structures on this street is the Temple of Hadrian, a flawless example of Roman aesthetics with its elegant facade decorations. The temple was built in the first half of the 2nd century AD in honor of Emperor Hadrian. The most magnificent structure of Ephesus, the Library of Celsus, was built in the 2nd century AD to commemorate Julius Celsus. With its facade reaching nearly 20 meters in height, the building is a unique monument where Roman elegance and engineering meet. The 4 female statues on the front facade symbolize human virtues and wisdom. Each of these figures carries a profound meaning. Sophia represents wisdom, the understanding attained through reason and experience. Episteme represents knowledge, the power of learning, discovery, and science. Enoia represents intellect, the expression of thought, comprehension, and creativity. Arete stands for virtue, reflecting moral excellence and inner integrity. With its collection of more than 10,000 scrolls, the library is known as a symbol of knowledge in the ancient world. With its collection of more than 10,000 scrolls, the library is known as a symbol of knowledge in the ancient world. The terrace houses rising on the slopes of Ephesus reveal the luxurious lifestyle of the Roman elite. Built in the 1st century AD, these houses stand out with their courtyard plans and mosaic-decorated rooms. The Great Theatre of Ephesus, with a facade exceeding 140 meters, was one of the widest stages in the ancient world. Capable of accommodating 25,000 people at the same time, this theatre is truly one of the giants of antiquity. The Bouleuterion, a smaller theatre with a capacity of around 1,500, was used for musical performances as well as city council meetings. The area uncovered today represents only about 5% of the entire city. Myra Ancient City. Myra Ancient City. These tombs from the 4th century BC are among the finest examples of the Lycian style, with temple-shaped facades carved into the rocky surfaces. The columns, pediments, and reliefs on the facades show that the tombs were designed like temples. The detailed craftsmanship of the upper row tomb suggests that the individuals buried here held a privileged place in Lycian society. The ancient theatre of Myra is one of the largest and best-preserved stages of the Lycian civilization. Its stone seating rows were placed on the mountainside with flawless engineering, providing excellent acoustics. The stone reliefs found on the inner and outer parts of the ancient theatre are decorative blocks that adorned the stage building. The faces seen on them are stone depictions of the tragedy and comedy masks used in ancient theatre. The stones were not made for ritual purposes but entirely for architectural and artistic decoration. It is an ideal stop for those interested in Roman architecture, Lycian civilization, and the early Christian period. Afyonkaraza Castle. Afyonkaraza Castle. Located in the center of Afyonkaraza, this fortress rises on a volcanic rock mass exceeding 220 meters. In the 14th century BC, during the reign of Mursili II, the first defensive structure was built on this rock. In the late 4th century BC, Alexander the Great conquered the fortress and gave the city the name Akroinon. During the Byzantine period, the city was recorded in the 8th century as Nicopolis, meaning new city. After the Battle of Manzikert in the late 11th century, the Seljuks settled in the region, and the fortress came to be known as Karahiza. The castle came under Ottoman rule in the late 14th century but was briefly lost during Timur's attack in the early 15th century. However, it was soon recaptured and permanently incorporated into Ottoman territory. Reaching the castle is not easy. Visitors must climb a steep route consisting of hundreds of steps. Pontic King's Rock Tombs. Pontic King's Rock Tombs. These rock-cut tombs, carved high into the cliffs, appear as if watching over a masia from above. There are 21 tombs in the area, and the imposing architecture of 5 of them is considered to be associated with the Pontic dynasty. The tombs are thought to belong to the rulers of the Mithridates dynasty, who lived in the 3rd century BC. The smallest tomb is no more than 7 meters, while the largest reaches 15 meters and is identified as the tomb of Pharnaces I, king of Pontus. The facades of the tombs reflect the architectural style of Hellenistic temples. Today, reaching this site requires a challenging ascent. Pergamon Ancient City. Pergamon Ancient City. The ancient city was built on a steep hill rising above a wide plain. The Temple of Trajan, standing at the highest point of the Acropolis, appears to watch over the city from above. From this viewpoint, the ancient theatre, the Acropolis, and the modern city of Bergama merge into a single panorama. The theatre, with its stone steps still intact, stands as a masterpiece beyond ancient engineering. With a capacity of 10,000 spectators, it is one of the steepest theatres of the ancient world. The Asclepion in the ancient city was among the most famous healing centers of antiquity. Here, patients were treated with therapies involving water, music, and dreams. Even today, a quiet sense of peace can be felt within this ancient sanctuary of Pergamon. The Red Basilica, built in the 2nd century AD by Roman Emperor Hadrian, is one of the most striking structures of ancient Pergamon. The temple was named Red Basilica because of the color of its walls. The lion-headed statue found here represents Sekhmet, the Egyptian goddess of war, healing, and protection. This figure reflects the admiration for Egyptian deities during the reign of Hadrian. Pergamon is considered one of the most influential cultural centers of the Hellenistic world. Kornos Tombs of the Kings. Kornos Tombs of the Kings. This group of tombs is one of Anatolia's most striking archaeological heritage, both in its location and appearance. These tombs from the 4th century BC were carved into the steep cliffs of Dalyang in Mugla. Although known as the Tombs of the Kings, most of them belong to nobles or members of the ruling class. No inscription has been found in the area that directly identifies any tomb as belonging to a king. The interiors of the tombs are not open to visitors, only their facades can be viewed from a distance. Especially when seen from the river, the placement of the tombs on the cliffs looks breathtaking. Eflatun Pino. Eflatun Pino. Dating to the 13th century BC, this sacred water monument is the best-known Hittite ritual site around Bayshir. In the central section of the monument are reliefs of the storm god and the sun goddess. At the top, winged sun discs, a typical feature of Hittite art, can be seen. The central deities are surrounded by creatures believed to carry sun discs and symbolize spiritual powers. The lower part of the structure is adorned with 5 figures representing the Hittite gods of mountains and the underworld. The openings in the reliefs once functioned as small fountains through which water flowed. This system allowed the water to be stored first in a pool and then distributed across the sanctuary in a controlled manner. Hattusa. Hattusa. This ancient capital, designated a World Heritage Site by UNESCO, lies within the borders of Khoram province. The King's Gate, located at the eastern entrance of the city, is one of the most impressive examples of Hittite defensive architecture. The relief on the gate most likely represents a deity or a warrior king. The Lion Gate is one of the most iconic architectural remains of Hattusa. The 2 large lion reliefs flanking the entrance date back to the 14th century BC. Another monumental structure in the city is the Sphinx Gate. Built in the 14th century BC, this gate is known for its human-headed, lion-bodied figures symbolizing power and protection. Yerkapi, known as the underground passage of Hattusa, is one of the most striking works of ancient engineering. It is believed that those who passed through the tunnel were performing a ritual walk toward the temples above. The green stone is a single rock block located near the Great Temple of Hattusa. Its color and smooth surface attract attention, though its exact purpose remains unknown. Yazilikaya, situated northeast of Hattusa, is a sacred open-air sanctuary famous for its rock reliefs. Here, carefully carved depictions of gods, goddesses, and kings appear on the rock surfaces. Most of these reliefs were created in the 13th century BC during the reign of King Tuthaliya IV. The sanctuary is divided into two sections, known as Chambers A and B, each containing divine reliefs. In this Chamber B relief, the god Saruma takes Tuthaliya IV by the hand, depicting his sacred entry into the realm of the gods. Another relief in this chamber shows the 12 underworld gods walking side by side, reflecting the silent power of the underworld. In Chamber A, the storm god Teshub, the sun goddess Hebat, and their son Saruma are depicted together. Here in this relief, Tuthaliya IV's gesture toward the holy symbols plainly reveals his allegiance to the divine. Anyone interested in history and archaeology should visit Hattusa to witness the traces of the Hittite civilization up close. Hierapolis. Hierapolis. This ancient city gained fame in the Roman period as both a pilgrimage center and a place of healing. One of its most important structures, the Gate of Frontinus, offered a ceremonial entrance to the city with its 3 arches and 2 massive towers. Built in the late 1st century AD by Frontinus, this monumental gateway is also known as the Gate of Domitian. Its flawless stone masonry shows that the gate was designed not for defense, but as a powerful visual entrance. The circular towers suggest that the gate also served as a symbolic threshold for ceremonies and official receptions. Frontinus Street was the main avenue of Hierapolis, stretching along a north-south axis. Along the edges of the wide stone pavement stood shops, baths, and the spaces used by the people. In this ancient city, no structure carries more mystery and renown than the plutonium, for it is the sacred gateway dedicated to Hades, the god of the underworld. Because of the toxic gases emerging from the cave, it was regarded in antiquity as a portal to the land of the dead. Behind the temple stand the statues of Hades and his 3-headed dog Cerberus. Cerberus had 2 tasks: preventing any soul from escaping the underworld and keeping the living from entering it. The Cleopatra Antique Pool is one of the most famous healing sources of Hierapolis, with its warm thermal waters that remain constant throughout the day. The marble blocks beneath the water are Roman columns that collapsed into the pool when the portico fell during the destructive 7th century earthquake. Swimming among the ancient columns offers visitors direct contact with remains from the Roman era. The theatre of Hierapolis is known as one of the most magnificent stage structures of the Roman period. With a capacity exceeding 10,000, it hosted the largest performances in the region. Its high podium wall shows that the structure was used not only for stage arts but also for gladiator fights and animal shows. The city, which still preserves its rich history, receives heavy visitation thanks to its proximity to Pamukkale. Dara Ancient City. Dara Ancient City. Dara was a strategic garrison city founded in the early 6th century to strengthen Rome's eastern frontier. The ruins of the city are located today within the district boundaries of Artuklu in Mardin. The most distinctive feature of the ancient settlement is its vast necropolis areas carved into the surrounding hills. The cavities and multi-layered rock cuttings clearly reveal the burial traditions of Dara. In the early periods, communities devoted to pagan and Mithraic beliefs prepared their dead for an eternal journey inside rock-cut chambers. In later centuries, rock-cut and chambered tombs lost importance, while in-ground burial gradually became dominant. In the rocky areas around the city, many cavities carved during the late Roman period as burial spaces have survived, taking on a cave-like appearance today. The terraced arrangement proves that the city had a planned and systematic burial tradition. In the underground burial chambers, numerous human skeletons from different periods have been uncovered, clearly showing that the city once hosted an extensive necropolis. The 2- and 3-storied layout of the kist tombs demonstrates how the hierarchical order of the settlement was reflected in its burial customs. The massive cisterns in the city are remarkable examples of ancient engineering, pushing the limits with their depth. The water channels and dam systems provided a continuous water supply both to the military garrison and to agricultural activities. For those who seek the traces left by borders, wars, and civilizations, Dara stands as a powerful witness. Perge Ancient City. Perge Ancient City. This ancient city is located northeast of Antalya, near the Aksu region. The Hellenistic towers rising at Perge's northern gate consist of 2 round bastions and are considered among the most distinctive structures of the city. These towers, dated to the 3rd century BC, were part of the city's earliest fortification system. Inside the towers, traces of stone steps and remains of passages leading to the upper floor have been identified. These findings show that the towers served not only as defensive walls, but also as lookout and control points. To the north lies the Perge Stadium, whose vaulted cells served both public events and intense commercial activity. The seating arrangement, capable of holding tens of thousands, clearly shows how large a performance center Perge once was. Built in the 2nd century AD, the Perge Theatre, with its large cavea and 3-storied stage building, is one of the most impressive examples of Roman architecture in the region. The railings created a physical barrier between the stage area and the audience, helping to keep dangerous performances under control. The Perge Macellum, with its central circular courtyard and surrounding shops, was one of the city's most orderly commercial centers. The tholos at the center of the Perge Macellum, with its circular plan, functioned as an administrative structure that defined the core of the entire commercial layout. Travelers who appreciate quiet and meaningful places can find themselves immersed in history in Perge. Outro. This brings us to the end of our documentary on Turkey's ancient heritage. Support our work by liking and subscribing to the channel. Don't forget to tell us which site impressed you most. At the end screen, you'll find more journeys into other ancient civilizations.